Welcome to Reddit Revenge Stories. Did you know over 90% of our viewers don't subscribe? If you enjoy this video, please subscribe and hit that like button. We're targeting 500 likes on this one. Let's dive into today's tale. I always thought the foundation of a marriage was trust. That's what I believed when I stood at the altar, looking into Rachel's eyes, promising forever. I was never the type to throw promises around lightly. Maybe that's why this hurts so much. Because for me, every word I said to her that day was real. We met in college. I was studying architecture and she was majoring in business. She was sharp, witty, and had this spark in her eyes that pulled people in. I was more reserved, not the life of the party, but she seemed to like that about me. She used to say I grounded her. I guess I believed that meant something permanent. After we graduated, we got married the following summer. I landed a job at a mid-sized architectural firm in Indianapolis. Rachel started working with a tech startup that she helped grow from the ground up. We were both busy, but we made time for each other. Date nights, trips to visit family, holidays together, it all felt solid, like we were building something real. The first crack, looking back, wasn't even that big, just a shift. She started working longer hours, said the startup was scaling, and the pressure was on. I didn't question it. I wanted to support her. I'd bring her dinner to the office sometimes. She always smiled and thanked me, but there was this distance in her eyes I didn't catch at the time. It was about a year ago when things started to feel different. At first, I thought it was me. Maybe I'd gotten too comfortable, too predictable. So I tried harder. I planned a surprise weekend getaway, took her to the place we honeymooned in Vermont. She smiled, laughed even, but something was missing. She kept checking her phone, sneaking off to take calls. I told myself it was just work. Then came the lies. Small ones, easy to miss if you're not looking. Telling me she was working late, but her location would say otherwise. Telling me she was going to brunch with her team, but never posting any pictures like she used to. I didn't want to be that husband, snooping, doubting. But the doubt grew, slowly at first, then all at once. It was a Tuesday when I found out. I remember because I had come home early. A client meeting got canceled and I thought I'd surprise her. I picked up her favorite Thai takeout, thinking we could eat together before she went in for her late shift. Her car wasn't in the driveway, which was odd since she told me she was working from home that day. I didn't jump to conclusions. I called her. No answer. Texted her. Nothing. I waited, food getting cold on the counter. At 9:30, she walked through the door. Hair slightly messy, wearing heels I hadn't seen her leave the house in. When she saw me, she froze for just a second, just long enough to confirm what I'd been trying not to admit. "Where were you?" I asked. She blinked, like she hadn't prepared for that question. "At work. Sorry, we had a meeting that ran long." Her voice was steady. Too steady. "You didn't answer your phone." She smiled weakly. "I left it in my bag." She walked past me, started putting her things down like everything was fine. I watched her, stomach in knots. I didn't confront her that night. I couldn't. I needed proof. I needed the truth, not just suspicion. That weekend while she was in the shower, I went through her phone. I didn't want to. I hated myself for it, but I had to know. The texts were there, not just a few, hundreds, all from the same number. His name was Kyle. I didn't know him, at least I didn't think I did, but from the messages it was clear. This wasn't just a fling. They had a routine. Lunches. Work meetings. Even weekends when I thought she was out with friends. My heart dropped, not just because of what she did, but because of how easily she lied. How normal it had become for her. I didn't say anything right away. I copied the messages, took screenshots, and sent them to myself. Then I started digging. Found his last name, his LinkedIn, his Facebook. He worked in marketing, lived not far from us. Single. A few mutual connections with Rachel from her startup days. That's probably where they met. I wanted to scream. Break something, but I didn't. I stayed calm. Too calm. Over the next few weeks, I acted like nothing had changed. I kissed her goodnight, asked about her day, listened to her lies with a straight face. Not because I was weak, but because I was planning. See, I wasn't going to let her walk away clean. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of being the one to decide how this ended. Number, if she wanted to tear our life apart, I'd make sure she felt every piece of it crumbling. I started keeping a journal, a detailed log of everything, her excuses, her comings and goings, her texts. I talked to a lawyer, a smart one, discreetly. He told me to gather evidence, that if I played it right, I'd walk away with everything I deserved and more. But I didn't want just money. I wanted her to know she chose the wrong man to betray. I wanted him to know that messing with another man's wife wasn't going to end in some fairy tale. So I set the stage. I invited her to dinner at her favorite restaurant one night. Told her it had been too long since we had a night out. She smiled, touched my arm, and said that sounded perfect. I could almost believe she meant it. We sat under soft lights, music playing, wine poured. I asked her about work and she lied. I asked her about her day and she lied. And the whole time I smiled, because I knew what was coming. I told her I had a surprise for her, something I'd been working on. She looked intrigued. A gift? She asked. Something like that, I said. When we got home, I led her to the living room. I told her to sit. Then I played the slideshow I had put together. Photos, screenshots, text messages. Her face drained of color as each one flashed across the screen. Every lie, every secret laid bare in front of her. She tried to speak. I didn't let her. This is your gift, I said. The truth. She stood, tears in her eyes, stammering about how she didn't mean for it to happen, how she was going to end it, how it was a mistake. I let her speak this time. Every word was like a fire dying out in her throat. When she was done, I nodded. Then I handed her the envelope. What's this? She asked. Divorce papers. She gasped like I'd slapped her. No, please, can we talk about this? We're done talking, I said. You made your choice. This is mine. She cried. I begged, said she'd cut him off, that we could go to counseling, that she'd do anything. But it was too late. You didn't think about us when you were sneaking around with him, I said. So don't pretend you care now. That was just the beginning. I wasn't going to let her off with just a divorce. She didn't know what I had planned next. What he didn't know either. But they were about to find out, and I was just getting started. After she left that night, crying and shaken, I sat alone in our house. No, not our house, my house. I had bought it. My name was on the deed. And soon hers wouldn't be. That was only the start. You know, there's something strange that happens after betrayal. You expect to feel rage, heartbreak, all those things. But what I felt was colder, calculated. I wasn't broken. I was focused. I didn't want to scream. I wanted to be precise. If she had treated this marriage like a business deal, I was going to dismantle her life the same way, piece by piece. First, I froze the joint accounts. I'd already set up my own private ones weeks earlier when I first suspected something. She wouldn't get to drain anything on her way out. I canceled the credit cards we shared, changed the passwords on everything. Streaming accounts, utilities, even the Wi-Fi. She was locked out in every way that mattered. Then I turned my attention to Kyle. I wasn't just going to make them miserable. I was going to make sure neither of them forgot my name for a very, very long time. Remember I told you I'd done my research on him? Well, I kept going. I found out where he worked. Mid-level marketing manager at a local firm with a squeaky clean image. The kind that does values-driven branding. He posted inspirational quotes about loyalty and team spirit every Monday morning. The irony wasn't lost on me. I created an anonymous email account, sent a polite message to the HR department, attaching a few choice screenshots of his conversations with Rachel. Just enough to paint a picture, not of an affair, but of a pattern of inappropriate conduct with a married client's spouse. I framed it just right. It wasn't revenge. It was a concern for professionalism and the company's reputation. A week later, I heard through a mutual acquaintance that Kyle had been asked to step away indefinitely. Apparently, there had already been whispers about his behavior in the office. My tip just tipped the scales. One down. Rachel, meanwhile, was trying to make amends. She sent long emails, apologies, promises, desperate regrets. She called my parents, cried to my sister, even showed up at my office once with coffee and tear-streaked cheeks. I didn't say much, just stared at her. Let her feel the silence that had grown between us like a wall she'd never climb over. But the real revenge? That came later. See, Rachel had always been proud of her job. She'd built a solid reputation in the local startup scene. Networking events, panels, interviews. She was known as a go-getter, a woman of integrity. So I began to tug at those threads ever so gently. I sent a second anonymous email, this time to the investors of her company. Simple. Clean. A potential concern regarding the public image of one of your top executives. I attached a few redacted texts between her and Kyle. Implications of favoritism, misuse of work hours, blurred lines between personal and professional boundaries. I didn't even have to lie. The truth was damaging enough. A month later, she was restructured out of her role. No formal firing, but her leadership spot was given to someone else. Her name quietly disappeared from the company's About page. She started freelancing after that, struggling to rebuild. Funny how karma works faster when you give it a little nudge. Meanwhile, I was doing better than ever. I moved forward with the divorce. My lawyer was thorough. Since I had the evidence and she had no claim to the house, the settlement was clean. She didn't walk away with much. I didn't take her to the cleaners, but I didn't leave anything on the table either. But there was one last thing I needed to do, one final card to play. I reached out to Kyle, directly. No threats, no yelling, just an invitation to coffee. He accepted. Maybe he was arrogant. Maybe he thought I wanted to talk man to man, settle things like adults. I met him at a quiet cafe on the edge of town. I watched him walk in, confident but cautious. He was taller than I expected, clean cut, dressed like a guy trying too hard to seem relaxed. He sat down across from me, tried to smile. So, I guess this is awkward, huh? I just looked at him. Let the silence stretch. I didn't mean for it to happen, he said after a moment. It just got out of hand. Did you love her? I asked. He hesitated. I thought I did. Do you still? I don't know. I nodded slowly. Then I pulled out a flash drive and slid it across the table. What's this? He asked. Everything. Messages, photos, conversations, your emails, her calls, every lie you two told. He picked it up, frowning. Why give this to me? Because I want you to remember, I said. Every time you try to move on, to start something new, I want you to remember what kind of man you are. This is your legacy now. He looked down at the drive like it was a bomb. I stood up. Oh, and one more thing. He looked up. I've already sent copies to your new employer, just in case you were thinking of starting over without consequences. His face turned pale. I walked away, not looking back. I know some people would say I went too far, that I should have taken the high road. But here's the thing. Rachel and Kyle didn't think about consequences when they tore apart my life. They didn't think about decency or the vows they broke, or the wreckage they left behind. They thought they could walk away, hands clean. I made sure they couldn't. And I slept just fine after that. Revenge gives you something that grief can't. Control. After months of feeling blindsided, used, and lied to, it felt good to finally drive the narrative. But what I didn't expect was how quiet everything would feel afterward. Rachel stopped trying to contact me. I think she realized there was no undoing what had been done. The image of her career, her reputation, even her friendships. Everything had taken a hit. I didn't gloat. I didn't celebrate. I just moved on, piece by piece. She moved out of the city a few months later. I heard through a friend that she was staying with a cousin in Colorado and trying to start some kind of consulting work. I didn't care. I didn't check her socials, didn't Google her. She became a shadow I no longer needed to chase. Kyle? He didn't bounce back quite as gracefully. Turns out, the new employer I tipped off didn't like the idea of harboring someone with a sketchy ethical record, especially not when it might reflect badly on their brand. He lost the job. Then he tried to freelance, but the circles he used to rely on had grown quiet. No referrals, no callbacks. It turns out people don't like getting involved with someone who burned a married woman's life to the ground and got caught. Again, I didn't feel joy in their pain, just closure. But here's the thing, no one tells you about getting revenge. It doesn't fill the silence that follows. The house felt different, emptier. Her perfume didn't linger in the air anymore. The framed photos of us were gone. Some I took down myself, others she had quietly removed before she left. Her laughter didn't echo in the hallway. Her toothbrush wasn't beside mine. There were no more lies. But there was no more love either. I thought I'd feel free, and in a way I did. But there was also grief, not just for the marriage, but for the man I used to be before I knew what betrayal tasted like. I was never naive, but I used to believe in people a little more. I used to trust a little quicker. After the dust settled, I spent a lot of time alone. Weekends, evenings, holidays. Friends reached out. My sister begged me to come visit. My mom sent awkward thinking of you texts. I appreciated it all, but I needed space. I needed to sit with everything before I could talk about it. Eventually, I started rebuilding, not just my home, but myself. I picked up old hobbies I'd let go of during the marriage. I got back into photography. I joined a hiking group. Simple things. No grand declarations, no reinvention posts online. Just quiet steps forward. One Saturday, I was walking through a local park, camera slung around my neck, when a woman asked if I could take a photo of her and her dog. Her name was Naomi. She wasn't flashy or overly charming, just kind, real. We talked for a while, then we met again a week later for coffee. Then again. She didn't ask about my past right away. When she finally did, I told her the truth. Not the whole revenge saga, just that I was divorced and that the end had been painful. She didn't push, she just nodded and said, "Well, you seem stronger now." It struck me, because she didn't say, "You seem okay" or "You seem better." She said stronger. And for the first time in a long while, I believed it. Months passed. Naomi and I didn't rush anything. She wasn't my rebound. She was something different, something gentle. I never told her about the flash drive or the emails or the coffee shop meeting with Kyle. That wasn't who I wanted to be with her. That part of my life was a closed book. A necessary one, but closed. What stayed with me most wasn't the vengeance. It was the clarity. That you can survive something that feels like it's breaking you and still walk away holding your head high. That loyalty matters. That silence can be more powerful than screaming. That sometimes the best revenge is taking back your peace. About a year after the divorce was finalized, I got a letter in the mail. No return address, just my name handwritten on the front. Inside was a short note. I know I can't undo what I did. I know I broke something beautiful. I just want you to know I'm sorry, truly. You didn't deserve it. I hope you find someone who treats your heart the way you treated mine. Rachel. I didn't feel anything reading it. Not anger, not relief, just closure. I folded it up and slid it into the back of a drawer. Not out of sentimentality, but because it was the last page of a chapter. A full stop. Today, I'm in a different place. Emotionally, physically, spiritually. The house has new furniture, new paint, new memories. And Naomi, she's still here, still patient, still kind. We take things slow, no pressure, no illusions. Just two people walking side by side. Sometimes people ask if I regret what I did, if I regret not just letting it go and moving on quietly. I don't, because the man I became through it all is someone I respect. Someone who stood up for himself. Someone who didn't let betrayal turn him bitter, but didn't let it slide either. Rachel taught me a painful lesson. Kyle reminded me of how low some people can sink. But I'm grateful, in a strange way, because without them, I might still be living a lie. Now I'm living on my terms, and every morning I wake up, I know exactly who I am. A man who lost everything and came back stronger.